The Galactic Council had one unwritten rule that every species learned before they took their first steps into the stars. Never anger the humans. It wasn't codified in any treaty or carved into the ancient monuments of the core worlds. It didn't need to be. It was whispered in the corridors of diplomatic vessels, shared in hushed tones at trade negotiations, and passed down through generations of alien civilizations like a cautionary tale. The Zephyrians had forgotten this rule. Commander Liza Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, her dark eyes fixed on the tactical display showing the smoldering remains of New Geneva colony. Behind her, the bridge crew worked in tense silence, their faces pale with barely contained fury. The colony had housed 12,000 human civilians, farmers, scientists, children. Now it was nothing but irradiated ash and twisted metal. "Ma'am," Lieutenant James Rodriguez called from the communication station, his voice tight with controlled emotion. "We're receiving a transmission from the Zephyrian High Command." Liza turned slowly, her expression unreadable. "Put it through." The holographic display shimmered to life, revealing the elongated crystalline features of High Admiral Zekthos. His translucent skin pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that Liza recognized as smug satisfaction. "Human Commander," Zekthos began, his voice like grinding glass. "We trust you have observed the fate of your illegal settlement. The Zephyrian Empire has claimed this sector under ancient right of conquest. Your species will evacuate all remaining colonies within 72 standard hours, or they will share New Geneva's fate." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in deathly silence. James slowly turned in his chair, his knuckles white as they gripped the armrests. "Commander, our long-range sensors are detecting Zephyrian battle fleets moving toward the Kepler colonies. Estimated time of arrival, 68 hours. Liza nodded once, her jaw set like granite. "Open a priority channel to Earth Command. Fully. Encryption." Within moments, Admiral Sarah Okafor's weathered face appeared on screen. The veteran commander's expression was grim. She had already received the preliminary reports. "Liza," Admiral Okafor said quietly, "I'm authorizing Protocol 7. A collective intake of breath echoed across the bridge. Protocol 7 hadn't been invoked in over 2 centuries, not since the Rigelian massacre. It was humanity's final diplomatic option: total war. "Understood, Admiral," Liza replied. "What are my orders?" "Show them why the galaxy fears us." The transmission ended, and Liza turned to address her crew. Every face on the bridge reflected the same mixture of grief and determination she felt burning in her chest. "James, signal. The fleet. All ships are to prepare for immediate departure to the Zephyrian home system." "Ma'am," James hesitated. "The Zephyrians have a Class A military. They outnumber us 3-1, and their ships are heavily shielded." Liza's smile was razor-sharp and utterly without warmth. "They're about to learn something that the rest of the galaxy figured out long ago. Humans don't fight fair." 12 hours later, the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zephyr system. The Zephyrian armada was waiting for them, over 300 vessels arranged in perfect battle formation, their crystalline hulls gleaming like deadly jewelry against the star field. High Admiral Zekthos opened communications immediately, his bioluminescent patterns now pulsing with amused confidence. "Foolish humans, you bring a mere 100 ships against the might of the Empire? Surrender now and we may allow your species to serve us." Liza stood at the center of her bridge, her hands clasped behind her back. "You made one critical error, Zekthos. You killed our children." She nodded to James, who initiated a sequence that would have made the Galactic Council weep with terror. Every human ship simultaneously jettisoned what appeared to be simple cargo containers. The Zephyrians watched with confused disdain as hundreds of these containers drifted through space seemingly harmless. "Is this some pathetic attempt at psychological warfare?" Zekthos sneered. "No," Liza replied calmly. "It's why you should never anger humans. We don't just wage war, we innovate it." The containers suddenly came alive, unfolding like deadly flowers. Each one revealed itself to be a self-replicating combat drone, equipped with adaptive AI and quantum processors that could analyze and counter enemy defenses in real time. But that wasn't the terrifying part. The terrifying part was that each drone carried a payload of programmable nanobots. Within minutes, the drones had infiltrated the Zephyrian fleet's defensive perimeter. The nanobots began their work, not by destroying the ships but by reprogramming them. Zephyrian vessels suddenly found their weapons turning on their own fleetmates, their navigation systems sending them careening into each other, their life support systems pumping sleep gas instead of oxygen. Impossible! Zekthos shrieked as his flagship's systems began failing around him. Your technology is inferior. The Empire has ruled space for millennia. That's your second mistake, Liza said, watching as the once mighty Zephyrian fleet descended into chaos. You assume that because humans are relatively new to the galaxy, we're primitive. What you failed to understand is that we didn't just develop technology to explore the stars. We developed it to survive against impossible odds on a death world that tried to kill us every single day for millions of years. James looked up from his console, a grim smile on his face. Ma'am, 80% of their fleet is disabled. The remaining ships are attempting to retreat. Let them go, Liza ordered. Make sure some survive to spread the word. As the battered remnants of the Zephyrian armada limped away into hyperspace, carrying news of their devastating defeat, Liza opened a general broadcast to all frequencies. This is Commander Liza Chen of the United Earth Space Force, she announced, her voice carrying across the galaxy's communication networks. Today, the Zephyrian Empire learned the oldest rule in space. Never anger the humans. Not because we're the strongest or the fastest or the most advanced, but because when you threaten our families, when you murder our children, we stop being explorers and scientists and farmers. She paused, letting her words sink in across 1,000 worlds. We become what we were before we reached for the stars, the most dangerous predators evolution ever produced. In the depths of space, watching from their hidden monitoring stations, representatives of a dozen alien species recorded humanity's message. They would share it with their governments, their military commands, their history keepers. The rule would be remembered for another 1,000 years. Never anger the humans. Because humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their numbers. It was their refusal to forgive those who harmed their own.